All right. So next important example, or like we can say a logic building exercise that we're gonna do, right? This will actually gonna help you a lot in building up your logics. Basically, if I talk about this is a table. A table on a web is called as a web table. Now, what I want to do, I want to print data from the entire table, right? I don't know how many total rows are there, total columns are there. Okay, columns I can see, like there are 5 columns, but counting rows will be a little bit difficult. And doing it programmatically, I want my code should find the total number of columns and total number of rows is what we actually need to look at it, right? So before we jump onto Selenium, like before we jump onto writing the code, using our like console tools using XPath CSS as well, we should be able to get it, right? So if I show it to you how many total number of rows are there. So row actually starts from here and row ends up till here. But we need to find the rows and columns within this table. So first I'll be finding this table. This table is basically this, right? This is the entire table. See, entire table is being highlighted. So this is the table. Let's see if it is a unique table or not. So see how we are going to handle this table. See, we have 2 tables and table with the class data table. So with class data table, it's one unique data table. This is one unique table, right? So within this table, now let's see what all columns are there. What all tags are there? See, we have table header and table body. So we need to find rows within the table body. So if I say t body, again one single element inside this t body, we have all the tr. Tr are basically rows. So see, we got tr, 255 rows are there. So I'm going to copy this. This will give me the total number of rows. Columns are within tr. Within tr we have td. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So if I say tr, then td. Okay, but this tr will be entire trs, right? So we need tr1. So this will actually going to give us 5 columns. So this is how we will going to get the column count. So row count and the column count. Now let's try this much first, and then we're going to see how we can get the entire table data. So that we need to write some logic. What I'll do, I'll copy this code from here, and I'm going to create a new class for it. Test web table. So this example will gonna help you a lot when you are fetching out records from a web table, right? At times you need to manipulate some records under the table, under a grid, right, which is in a rows and columns format. So this will gonna help you a lot. So let's see how we're gonna do it. First, finding row and column count. That should be straightforward, like we already did it over here. So this will give us the row count. So I'm gonna say driver dot find elements by dot xpath this, and this I'm gonna store it inside a list of a web element type. Let's say rows equal to this, and I'll say row num or row count. So total number of rows it will gonna print. I'll print over here total rows are plus row num. Right, same thing I'm gonna do it for columns. So this should be column. Total columns are column, and then we need to change the XPath tr1 and then td. Right, this is what we have written over here. So let's run this and let's see if we get the total row count and the column count. And if we see over here what it is printing, oh, okay. My mistake that I'm printing the entire list index. So it should be row dot size, row num dot size, column num dot size. We need to print the size. See, 255 rows and 5 columns, that is what we got initially, right? Now we know that the rows are starting from 1 and going up till 255. The columns are starting from 1 and going up till 5. Now we know the start point and the end point. So when we know from where we need to start and up till where we need to go, we can use for loop. First, we'll iterate from rows. Rows are starting from 1, rows are going less than equal to 255. If I write 255, it will be hard-coded. So I'm going to say row num dot size. And then I'll be incrementing the rows like this. Right? And then we need to iterate over the columns. So columns are starting from 1. Columns are going less than the column dot size, and then columns plus plus. And now this is where the biggest challenge comes. We need to get the text from each row and the column index. So how are we going to do that? We need to iterate over each row and each column. So row and the column. So if I talk about this, see how this will going to work. I'll show it to you. If I go back over here, so this is TR1, the row starting point. This should give you the first row. And if I give TD1 over here, this should give you the first column. If you see over here, this is first column. Then if I do TD2, then it should give you the second. I think it should give you second. It is not highlighting it, but yeah, see, A. At times it is highlighting, at times it is not. Even if, see, this is what it's giving you a second. So here the columns are iterating. It is going up till 5. And the last should be 255 rows and 5 columns. If I do this, it should highlight the last cell in this table. See, the last cell. So this is where the iteration is happening. Here the rows are being iterated, here the columns are being iterated. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this stuff and paste it over here. I'll say driver dot find element by dot xpath this dot get text, because we need to get the text from each index, and I'm going to print it. And instead of this 255, I'll be concatenating rows as in this row, and then instead of 5, I'll be concatenating columns. So what happens, the very first time row is 1, column is 1, it will going to get the text for the very first cell. Then this loop will be iterated. It will go row 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. And then after that, see, column 5, it will go up till column 5 only. Less than equal to the size. So less than equal to, it should not be less than. So up till 5, it will gonna run. And then it will iterate the rows. Then for the second row, all 5 columns will gonna run. And instead of ln, I'll remove this ln so that it should be printed in the same row. Same row as in, it will going to print the very first data in the same row. And then after that, after all the columns are printed, I'm going to put a new line over here. so that the next row should be in the new line. And I'm going to format it. I'm going to add some spaces over here so that after each data there should be some space, and you'll feel like that it is actually printing the entire table. So let's run this and see if we are able to print the entire table or not. See, right? It will print the entire table. Let us look at the very first record. Okay, it will gonna take some time to print it, but the very first record, okay, it's moving so fast. I'm not going to print the entire table because there are somewhere on 255 rows. Maybe even if we can try it, it may not gonna take that much time. I think it has printed. The first record was Dish TV India Limited. Let's see, Dish TV India Limited, up till this. And the last over here, oh, it is still printing it. Delete Buildicon. So let's see up till where it has reached. Oh, it has reached up till here only. Still, there's so much data left. So yeah, I'm not going to execute it further. But this is how, like, we have written a logic through which we can get anything from this web table, the entire data that we have printed. We don't know the row count, we don't know the column count. So dynamically we have extracted the row and the column size first. And then when we came to know about the row and the column count, we have iterated using these two loops, one for row, one for column, and then we have printed the entire data. So this is just a logic building exercise. If you remember, like if you're coming from a BTech background or MCA background, during your graduation, you must have written C++ code for printing a pyramid, right? So at that point of time, 90% of the students, I know that like the logic is not very much clear why we are doing that thing, right? So why we are writing a code for printing pyramid, how it will gonna help us. So at that point of time, our logic building concepts were not very clear. But now when we practically implement these things over a website while getting a data from the entire web table, if you are actually using the same two for loops like I and j, rows and columns, right? So if you practice this stuff on a real website while doing automation, this will actually going to help you in building up your programming base. And then you'll never going to forget where to use for loop, where to use while loop, right? So these things will actually going to help you a lot, right? So this is how we have actually handled a web table. Thank you.